Welcome. I'm Katie, your host. I'm a Mickaboo volunteer, just like Megan, who you just met, and all the people who will be presenting at today's event. Before we begin, let me tell you just a little bit about Mickaboo. We are a 501c3 nonprofit dedicated to education about the care of companion birds and to their rescue and adoption. We're a virtual, volunteer-based organization with over 300 birds in our care. We have no paid staff, and we rely on donations to be able to serve the birds. The vast majority of our expenses are related to their medical care. Our veterinary bills average $45,000 to $55,000 a month. You heard that right. There are a couple of reasons why that number is so high. First, new birds often require medical attention due to previous neglect, trauma they may have suffered. If they were strays, they may have lost a lot of weight while they were out in the wilds. And second of all, many of our birds have chronic medical conditions, and some of those birds require really specialized care and stay in foster care or hospice situations for long periods of time. So if you're able, please consider donating. I'll provide information about how to do that after the event is over. So now let's talk for a moment about the foster and adoption process. Fostering is a volunteer activity and adoption is, we hope, a permanent process, but you use the same process to do both things. I want you to know right up front that becoming qualified to foster and adopt takes some time. It's not like going to the shelter and coming home with a pet on the same day. Our approval process right now is taking generally 8 to 10 weeks, although it varies depending on your circumstances. During that time, we're going to put a lot of effort into getting to know you and your situation, and we'll review what we learn and help you make an educated decision about a bird that's right for your home. If at any time in the process you feel like you haven't heard from us, do go ahead and reach out and get in contact. Sometimes things accidentally drop and reminders are helpful in those situations. So you see here on the screen how the process goes. The first step is our basic bird care class. Parrots require a lot from their companions. So we cover behavior, health and well-being, feeding, care, and a number of other topics to ensure that our birds will thrive in your homes. We'll touch on some of those topics during today's adoption fair, so you can get an idea of some of the considerations. After you've taken the class, the next step will be to fill out an application. Once your application is filled out, you'll move on to a phone screen. This is an opportunity for us to better understand you and what you're looking for, and for you to make sure that you understand what you learned in the bird care class. It's also a really good opportunity for you one-on-one to ask any questions that you might have. The next step is the home visit, which may be performed either virtually or in person. Whether it is in person or online, the home visit is the same. It's not a white glove test. This is a way for us to help you identify any potential dangers you might have in your home and to pick out all the best places that you might want to put a cage or a play stand so that you can really have a bird or a group of birds living in your home in a way that is safe for them and pleasant for you and for them. We'll want to see any birds you currently have, any cages you already have, the parts of the house where the bird will be. We don't need to go look in your bedrooms or your garage or other places that the bird is not going to be. We really are focusing on making sure that we can support you in providing a good environment for the bird. Currently, the home visit is the part of the process that takes the longest to coordinate. You can expect to wait up to 6 weeks in some cases. Once your home visit is completed, everything goes off to the approval board for review. Once you've been approved, we'll get in contact with the species coordinator for the type of bird that you're interested in, and that person will help you to find a bird or birds that are a good match for you. They'll facilitate you speaking with foster parents, meeting foster birds that you might adopt over Zoom or potentially in person, all the things that need to happen to make a decision of a bird that's a good match for your home. In light of the pandemic, the specific arrangements are going to vary depending on you and the foster home and what you're comfortable with. So now let's move on and learn about the birds we're going to meet today. First, we're going to meet Pepper, an Amazon parrot. Second, Daisy and Tweety, a pair of lovebirds. Third, Ruth the parakeet. Fourth, Bonnie and Raclette, a pair of finches. And last, but certainly not least, Emma the cockatoo. Sorry, I lost my notes here. A reminder of what Megan already told you about. We do want to hear your questions and to answer them live as we go. So you can type any questions in the Q&A tab here on Zoom if you're watching on Zoom, or just commenting on the video live stream in Facebook. Now, let's meet our first bird of the day. Hi, Sophia. Can you introduce us to Pepper?
Yes, this is Pepper.
What kind of Amazon parrot is Pepper? I know he's an Amazon.
Pepper is a yellow-naped Amazon.
And male or female, or do we know?
We believe he's a male Amazon. I think he had a blood test to find that out.
Ah, I see. Do we have any idea about Pepper's age?
Yes, we think that Pepper is 42 years old. And he came into Mickaboo because he broke his wing. And when he broke his wing, the owner, who really loved Pepper, did pay to have it fixed. But Pepper chewed through the stitches, and really sad story, she couldn't afford to have it fixed again. So she surrendered him to the vet, and Mickaboo paid to have it fixed. So Mickaboo saved Pepper's life.
Yeah, some of those vet bills that I was discussing earlier, that's an example of one of the ways they can happen. That's really sad, though, that Pepper had to leave their previous home for that reason. Is he tame?
Yes, Pepper's really sweet with me. He likes to step up. He likes his head scratched, and he has a ton of personality. So he's eating some food now, and he's pretty interested in that at this point. But
I can see, depending what direction he looks, I can see quite a lot of his face and his claw there. It looks like he's enjoying his snack there. We have a question from one of our audience members, and he is asking, is Pepper very vocal?
Pepper talks. He does talk. He says hello, hello Pepper. He says lights out at night. And he says a few other things, but he also sings. He'll sing his own little songs, which is just adorable, and he'll also whistle songs. But one thing that is important to know about Pepper is that he loves women, and he does not like men, human, birds. He doesn't like male birds. He doesn't like male humans. He doesn't like male dogs. He just likes women. This is a real ladies' man we got here.
So when you say he likes, is he safe around male animals and humans, or
no,
you know?
No, he would. Well, safe is relative, I guess. So let me describe. If my husband walks in the room, then he will get on the floor and try to charge towards my husband. If he puts his feet up, he's fine. So if he's watching TV in the living room, he'll just put his feet up. Pepper can't fly because of his broken wing, but he just likes to charge on the floor.
Okay, so there's going to be a definite responsibility for the woman in the house to be able to intervene and keep Pepper in a location that's safe for the men in the house, it sounds like.
Exactly. And he loves my female Amazon. He thinks she's great. They groom each other and hang out, but I cannot trust him around my male Amazon because he will also charge him. He doesn't want any other men around. He wants to be the alpha male of your house.
This may sound daunting to some of the people who are watching, but I think it's actually a really good example of the responsibility that we as the humans have to get to know these birds and to make sure that we provide an appropriate environment for them. So, yeah.
Yeah, and my husband really does like Pepper because
Mhm.
Pepper has a ton of personality and he has a lot of respect for Pepper. He just can't
Mhm.
believe that a bird so little has so much, I'm a humongous human. I'm like 200 pounds and this little bird is like gonna get me. And he's like, he just can't believe, he just has he has a lot of personality and he is really fun to have around.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Could you tell us about some of Pepper's typical behaviors? What does he like to do?
So he really likes to play with bells. That's his favorite toy. He chews wood too. And let's see, he likes to eat. Pepper likes to eat. So you really have to be careful about how much you feed him because he is overweight and he is the clean plate club. He will clean up every pellet in his dish. So I actually have to limit, he eats a Supreme fruit pellet and I have to limit how many. He's the only bird that I've ever had where he will eat every single pellet in the dish. So, but he also loves fruits and vegetables. So vegetables are really good for him. And he does need to limit how much fruit he gets because fruit is also high in calories. So, so he's a very good eater. That's for sure.
Got it. Yeah. So, yeah, you just have to monitor and limit the amount of the not so nutritious stuff and make sure he gets the right amount of pellets. And that's great that he loves his vegetables.
Yep.
So we know how he behaves with adult humans. Do we have any idea, is Pepper good with children? I would guess probably that would need to be very carefully monitored.
Yeah, his previous foster home didn't trust him with kids. So I probably would think that he's not good with kids, but he is just very docile with me. I mean, I can pick him up when he's super excited and he's fine with that. He doesn't bite. Let me move this up so you can see Pepper's head there.
Oh, yeah.
He is a beautiful boy.
He is, and oh, he's checking us out. He's looking right at the camera here.
Yeah. He says, I'm a movie star now. But yeah, so with me, if his tail is flared and his eyes are pinning, which is an Amazon really excited, that's the most time you're likely to be bit. Because he actually won't bite me. I can pick him up. So he's actually with the person that he loves. Oh, he has to play with this. He's gonna give you some toy action there.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, he likes that, has a bell in it, so he likes that. He's so good with me. He's just he's the sweetest Amazon with me of any that I've ever had, really. My other Amazons will knit me. He really doesn't. If he loves you, and you're his female caretaker, he will be great,
Oh, he's really looking all around and polishing his beak up for us and everything.
So he's in his orange before we were on, so he's got to clean up his beak a little there.
So he's in his 40s. He has to watch his weight. We have a very reasonable and on-point question here from the audience. Is he on any medications?
Nope, he's not on any medication. He's very healthy and very active for his age. Like I would never know his age except for that it was entered in the computer. Otherwise, I'd have no idea because he is full of energy and a healthy guy.
I can see his head feathers fluffing up a little bit now.
His
It sounded like he was
come up
talking
on the back of his head and he's beautiful. He's gorgeous. Yeah, and lots of personality.
It sounds like he's talking to you a little bit. Are we hearing him? Were we hearing him talk a little bit there?
A little bit, yeah. But when he sings, it's really amazing. When he's singing, yeah, he'll do like opera notes. It's amazing what he can do. Very talented.
What does Pepper like to do when he's in his cage?
So he does chew wood and he plays with toys like this. These are some of the toys. He likes bells. So the more bells, the better. He will play with the toys and chew up wood. So he's not he talks and sings, but he's not a screamer as far as animals. You know, he doesn't just scream.
Mhm. What did he
He's
just say
talking
to
to
her?
my other Amazon a little bit there.
Oh, I see.
Yeah,
I saw his tail flare out too. He's
yeah,
feeling
Yeah.
it, whatever it is he's talking about.
yeah.
What kinds of vegetables does he like to eat? Does he have favorites?
You know, it's funny that he doesn't really like pepper.
That
I have
is
some
weird.
other Amazons that love jalapeno peppers and they love bell peppers, and he won't eat pepper, but he likes carrots. He likes all kinds of lettuce and greens like parsley, cilantro, lettuce. He likes like chopped up shredded cabbage, purple and green. He likes cauliflower. Yeah, he's a really good eater. He likes pretty much everything, but for some reason, not pepper, which I think is funny.
That's funny. Yeah. So, well, he sounds like he knows what he wants.
Yeah, there you go. Back in the screen there, Pepper. Yeah.
So it sounds like he's pretty healthy and likes his toys. Does he need any kind of special care?
No, he really doesn't. He's a regular Amazon. He doesn't need any special care. He's just a regular Amazon. Yep. With a ton of personality. He does like to be covered at night. You know, he expects mama to cover him at night, and he will say lights out. Yeah, he likes that extra care. Yeah.
That's really cute.
He likes to be babied. I guess that's what he's kind of used to that, you know.
So in a minute, we're gonna move on to watch a couple of videos of some Mickaboo Lovebirds. But before we do that, are there any last things you'd like to tell us about Pepper?
Well, he's just a really sweet bird looking for a special home with a woman that, you know, wants you know, to give him a lot of attention that he deserves and give him the best care for the remaining years that he's alive. And really, he could make it to 60 years old, I think. So it's not like he's too old. He really has, he has many good years left.
Well, he looks utterly charming and quite handsome and playful. And I know we'll all be hoping for his great match and his forever home. So thank you so much, Sophia. Goodbye, Pepper. And now we're going to watch some video of first a lovebird named Daisy, and then also another lovebird named Tweety. And Shauna is going to talk to us about both of them. So hello, Shauna.
Hello, Katie. Yes, we're first going to start with Miss Daisy here. She is a very in-your-face lovebird. She has tons and tons of personality. She's about 8 years old, and she came to Mickaboo, first came to Mickaboo around 2017. She did have a companion, but it was determined that they were not so bonded after all, and they started to really not get along. And we were starting to see more and more that it's probably much better that Daisy is a only bird. She can be a little bossy, and she can get a little aggressive at times around other birds. She might seem fine at first, so we did try her around other birds, but she does have that aggressive side that can come out on her. So we think she's better off as to be a nice companion for somebody who would love to give her attention and enjoy her company.
It looks from this video like she might be fairly tame, like that rope perch was like you or someone was holding it maybe, and it looks like she flies to people.
Yes, she is pretty tame. Hands are kind of scary to her, so she will nip at you and bite you if you try to reach out with your hand. But stepping up onto a perch or maybe your arm work very well. She is very responsive. I can stand at a distance from her, and that's what you were kind of seeing. I can stand at a distance from her, and and call to her, and she'll fly over to me. So she
It
does
looks
want to.
like that might be
Yeah,
what
yeah.
happened here. Of like she was eating and then she like
It's
popped
like,
her head right up. What's going on? Are
well,
you talking to me?
well, she loves cell phone cameras. She loves tablets. When we started video with her, you could see she was listening to some lovebird sounds, video
Yes.
that I was playing, which she absolutely loves to hear.
Uh-huh.
So if you have a cell phone and you're trying to get video of her, take pictures, just know she is going to just want to fly right over to you and go, "What's that? Are you going to play some videos for me?" So she always wants to be in the action, and she likes to be near you. So she'll
Mhm.
fly onto your head and she'll want to stay there and go wherever you're going.
Uh-huh. It looks like she likes a lot of different kinds of toys too. We've seen her with that grass
Yes.
mat with lots of toys on it. And
Mhm.
it looks like she has some others there on the side of her
Yes,
cage. And
she does. She does like to play with her toys. She's very active. Um,
what does she eat?
she is on the same diet that I'm going to tell you about when I get to Tweety also. They both eat Harrison's Adult Lifetime Fine and Adult Lifetime Super Fine. I kind of mix them in a little bit, for some variety. So she's on Harrison's pellets. She gets a nutrient cake, Lefebvre's nutrient cake. Also, she gets her fresh vegetables and sometimes fruit. So she'll get her kale or her greens. Sometimes she'll get bell pepper and apple, blueberries. So it's always nice to try different things with her and see what she's gonna like. So she's a very good eater. And she really enjoys being out and being able to fly around and explore and have her out of cage times that gives her lots of good exercise.
Got it. She's doing that little tail tuck thing.
Yes. Then that's the thing about the females is that,
This is a standard female
yes,
lovebird behavior for people who haven't
yes.
seen it before. They tuck little pieces of nesting material into their tail and carry them around that way. It's super cute, but it's also kind of hormonal. So
correct.
something you have to manage.
Definitely. And so we try not to give her anything. Sometimes out of the things you just don't think she's going to even be able to stick in her tail feathers, she'll find a way, as you can see. So yes, definitely do not want to give her any nest box, paper to shred, any kind of shreddable toys, because she does a good job just trying to find that on her own. So definitely don't want to encourage that.
Got it.
Yeah.
So in a minute, we're going to move on to watch the videos of Tweety. But before we do that, are there any last things you'd like to tell us about Daisy?
Yeah, just one cute way I found out about how she likes to take her baths. The bird room is right next to the bathroom, and I'd gone in just to quickly wash my hands, and she flew right over to me as I was washing my hands. So I had the water running, and she ran down my arm and just decided she was going to take a bath right there with the water running in my hands like a little waterfall. So she likes to get her bath that way too. Sometimes she'll bathe in her water dish, but that was a cute way to find out because I wasn't expecting it.
Yeah, they find ways to tell us and show us what they want for sure.
Yes, but she's a very sweet girl and has a lot of potential for being a really nice companion. Oh, one thing she does say, you'll see in this video, she actually literally says, "Tweet, tweet, tweet, tweet." It's the cutest thing. And if you say that back to her, if you say tweet, 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 she'll answer you. It's adorable.
That's very sweet. So reminder to our audience that if you have questions about the birds as we go, please do type them into the Q&A or the Facebook video stream, and we'll try to get to them. So now I think we've moved on to looking at Tweety here, right? Is this Tweety? Oh, this is Tweety.
Tweety.
Yes. Oh, How could I mix them up? They look very different. Hello,
Yes.
Tweety. This is a cute little lovebird too.
Yes, she is.
Okay, so this is another girl.
Yes, Tweety's also a female. She came to us not long ago. She's only been with us since December. So still trying to get to know her personality more. She's pretty shy right now, so she doesn't step up. She doesn't, she's very fearful of hands. So that's going to take some practice and just patience with her. But I think she'll come around very nicely. She's not aggressive. She doesn't come at you to try to bite you or anything like that. So she's been a very, very sweet girl.
She looks very interested right here. Just she's keeping
Yeah.
her eyes on you and looking from all different angles. So.
I was talking to her and really to try to get her attention and whistling to her, and yeah, so she likes that ambient attention. She likes to have you talk to her and you know, just engage her that way. It's just she's not one to just step up yet or come over to you, but she does like to hear you talking to her. So she's, like I said, she's got a lot of potential there. She is on the same diet that Daisy is on. And right now, I don't think she got a lot of time out of her cage in her previous. The owner had passed away, and she was inherited by family members, and they did dog rescue, which is kind of a chaotic situation to have a single bird in. So they really wanted to have her to help her find a better home, so they surrendered her to us. But I don't. She was let out occasionally, but I don't think she ever really had a lot of out of cage time. So this is a new experience for her. So she's adjusting to that, and she's learning to enjoy that. As you can see, she's like
got a really nice play stand there.
Yeah, she likes to go exploring and checking things out. So she's coming out of her shell little by little, very nicely. And she's also going to be a very, very nice companion for somebody. Just going to take some patience and giving her some time to adjust to her new life. But it's going to be a very good life for her. So she's going to enjoy being out more and more and getting exercise. And she does need to be kept active. She's got a little bit of weight on her, but she's been getting more and more active, so she will so it'll be better for her.
Well, yeah, and that makes sense as she gets more used to going out of her cage. In general, lovebirds tend to play pretty hard and be pretty active, so that'll help her. So we have an audience question about Tweety. How do you think she would do with another bird? And how old is she as well?
Oh, I'm sorry, I did not mention that. We know Tweety is at least 5 years old, maybe older. She was actually originally, her owner adopted her from a shelter, and that's been at least 5 years. So we know she's over 5. As far as with another bird, she could do well. She could do fine with another bird. We haven't tested that out yet, but she has been calling back and forth to Daisy in a friendly manner. So it's possible that she could do well with another bird.
So it also a related general question of just, is it better to adopt 2 lovebirds than 1? I think that the name Lovebird makes it easy to think they're just gonna love each other, and that you need a pair, but
correct. That's yes, that is not always the case. Just for an example, as we were talking about Daisy, she has demonstrated that she can be aggressive towards other birds, so she's better off in a home where she's getting good attention from the human family members, and she'll do fine with that. So no, not necessarily that they need to have another lovebird. It varies with each bird, you know, I mean,
Yeah.
you have to look at how each bird is individually, like as we did with Daisy, you know, we find out that because she did have a companion, but then, you know, they became very aggressive, and so you that can also change.
Yeah. That is one of the benefits of adopting from a rescue is we will share the information that we have about a bird's history and likes and dislikes and help you figure out things like this. So we have a couple more audience questions. We're getting close to the end of our time, but one audience question is, are lovebirds able to learn tricks? And then we also have one about sort of cage size and whether they should open space versus a bird cage. So first of all, let's take, can lovebirds learn tricks?
They can, especially, you know, if it depends on how enthusiastic they are about it. They, you know, how, as I was mentioning, how Daisy, I've been teaching Daisy to come when you call her. So it just depends. It takes a lot of consistency with the training. But yes, they can potentially, but not every bird is going to learn tricks. We also, we always want to, you know, there's no guarantee that the bird will learn tricks, but there's a potential for that, yes. As far as cage size, for a single lovebird, we always say the bigger the better, because, you know, sometimes, especially if they're spending a lot of time in that cage, you want to really give them a lot of room to get exercise. So at least a cage that's at least around 20 to 30 inches would be good to give them space to be able to fly around and exercise, and to put, you know, and toys in there and things that'll keep them busy. So was the other part of the question horizontal versus vertical bars? Is that what I heard?
No, it was really just about being out of the cage versus in a cage. And I think that actually the video of Daisy tells us a little bit about that, the way that she was going after those nest materials. You know, if you're not able to supervise when they're out of the cage, lovebirds, all birds can get in trouble, but lovebirds, I feel like, really have a knack for it. So
they're super fast too. So
yeah,
the time it takes for them to get into trouble is seconds.
One more question from the audience. Where did you get your perches? If you have a recommendation for those lovely play stands you've got.
The play stands were actually one I bought many years ago, so I don't even know if that company is around anymore, but you can usually find them online. The other one was donated by someone when they surrendered their bird to us, so I'm not quite sure where that one came from. But yeah, but the perches that are in there are in their cages are the standard comfy rope perches, and there's some natural wood perches that you can find at most pet stores.
Yeah, got it. Okay, we're about ready to move on to meet Ruth the Budgie, but before we do that, are there any last things you'd like to tell us about Tweety or about Daisy? Well, you already did tell us really a bit about Daisy.
No, I think we pretty much covered it. This last shot is a really cute one. She definitely likes to take her baths. She as often as you'll put the dish out for her on top of her cage, as you can see here, she will definitely dive in with gusto and take her bath. So she likes that a lot.
Great. Thank you so much for introducing us to both of these cute little lovebirds.
Thank you.
And now we will meet Ruth the Budgie. Hi, Pam. Can you introduce us to this cute little budgie?
Yeah, so Ruth is a wonderful girl budgie, and we can tell by the coloration on her nose, which we call the cere.
Mhm.
She originally came to Mickaboo from the Santa Cruz shelter, and whenever that happens, we don't have a complete history of the bird.
Mhm.
We can say, though, that she came to us in September of 20, thereabouts, and was adopted, actually, by Mickaboo out to a loving family. However, much like we heard about Daisy, Ruth became aggressive with the other budgie in the household.
Mm.
So therefore, the adopter returned Ruth back to Mickaboo about a month after adoption.
Mm.
And we are looking for a new home for Ruth. There is speculation that that Ruth might be best as a single budgie, but we don't know that for a fact. We know that she was aggressive with one bird,
Mhm.
right? And
Yeah.
in the wild, if anybody has ever seen wildlife photographs of Australia, there are massive flocks of, seems like thousands of budgies. So we generally at Mickaboo say that if you're going to adopt a budgie, we want to see them in a flock of 2 at minimum.
Mhm.
We, don't know that Ruth is so far of an outlier that she would be suitable for only being a single budgie. But we do have knowledge that she can be aggressive toward a fellow budgie, so that is a cautionary point.
Got it. So is that something, I assume she's probably in quarantine right now, having come back from her adoptive home, and then are we going to maybe see how she gets on in a flock after she's finished quarantine?
She's actually well and done with quarantine. I've not been given another budgie to foster,
Ah.
which, might then generate some questions after this virtual adoption fair. However, at this point, she is the only foster budgie that I have. I will say as another data point that she is sharing a living room, my living room, with foster cockatiels, and they come out one species at a time now and again. And when the cockatiels land on her cage, she's not one to aggressively go after their feet, which sometimes birds do when they feel their territory has been invaded by somebody landing on my house.
Mhm.
She doesn't do that. So the idea of the aggression, I think, again, small sample size, one bird,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And when she's the one that's out loose, she's not going after the other birds that are in their cages.
Got it.
So
I think we would probably expect her to be a pretty ordinary budgie who gets along with most other budgies. But
Yeah.
I'm sure even when you look at those flocks in Australia, there are individual birds who don't care for each other very much. But when you
Right.
live in a large group out in the open, you can steer
Yeah.
clear of that one
Right.
bird who drives you crazy. So
Right. I think it's a bit like people. If you put 2 people in a confined space for a really long period of time,
yeah.
at some point, they're going to have, some kind of a controversy that might come to blows. But if you have a big enough living space where everybody can go to their own, perch, and a good enough living situation that nobody's fighting over a single food dish or a single water dish or something
Yeah.
like that, that goes a long way toward letting people or birds, blow off steam without it becoming physical.
So I see here that Ruth is quite fond of her millet, as most budgies are, and even has a nice technique for grabbing it with her foot after she gets it with her beak here. And then I saw her before holding it with her foot so that she could eat it easily. What else does Ruth like to eat?
She does not like broccoli. I can tell you that. I've offered her broccoli for several days, weeks on end, and the broccoli floret is intact at the end of the day. Her record says that she likes spinach, that she likes bathing in greens, and I just haven't gotten there with her, but she does have a record of liking other fruits and veggies. Her normal diet is Harrison's, sorry, not Harrison's, Nutrien cakes that are slightly crumbled so that she can get at all the pieces. And she's actually a very good eater there. Sometimes birds will eat just the seed part of the Nutrien cake, but she actually also goes after the pellet part of the Nutrien cake. Here I'll just mention that the millet was an incentive for her to get into a place where I could easily take video of her.
Yes.
And she was actively doing this calculus in her head. You know, there's a camera pointed at me. I don't usually see that black thing pointed at my face. And there's millet in front of my beak. And, you know, what do I do about this? You know, which is the bigger? And so she's definitely doing an active calculation of, you know, the threat posed by the camera versus the
Yes.
the taste buds, you know, being activated by the millet. And the millet won, as it will
It's
for most
it's
budgies.
complicated being a
Yes.
budgie video star. I see that it's a little out of the picture now, but she has a swing, which a lot of budgies enjoy, and she
Yes.
has a nice comfy perch and some hanging toys there.
Mhm.
What kinds of toys does she like to play with? What kinds of activities does she have?
She likes mirrors. So the
Mm,
swing that you alluded to, we can see part of it there,
yeah, it's
is
the little
a
blue thing off on the side.
yeah, so her swing is a pink contraption that has two twirly things on either end of the hanging device, one of which twirls and the other one has a round mirror that also twirls. She actually picked this cage. I had a couple of open cages the last time I let her out, and she was flying around here and there, and she flew into this one toward the end of the day and wanted to stay there. So in her other cage, she has a more conventional hanging mirror, and she would sleep right next to it.
Aw.
Yeah.
We have an audience question. It's a little more, it's not really Ruth specific, but is it natural for budgies to have a pecking order like chickens?
I would say that in most societies, humans included, there is a natural tendency to have some kind of a pecking order, or you know, who's the alpha, who's, you know, leading, who's following idea. So, you know, the more I get to know about birds, actually, the more I consider that they're just like people, or people are just like birds, whichever way you want to go with that.
Yeah. I will say that every time I have new foster budgies join my flock or ones leave to be adopted, the pecking order, as you would call it, seems to change a little. So
Yeah.
while there are orders of who's calling the shots and getting the best spot on the perch, it does change with time and situation.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like when you have a reorganization at work, you
Yeah.
know?
Hmm.
You have to sort of like reestablish yourself with the new boss if that's what happened, or you get a newbie in, and you know, are they going to be considered more senior to you or not? I
Yeah.
mean, it's just like people.
Hmm. Yep. Oh, and there she found a good spot where she can look at you. She is keeping one eye on the camera the whole time.
Yeah.
Do we have any sense of whether Ruth is tame or good with children?
I don't have a sense of the children piece of it. I will say that it's been said, if you hold millet in your hand, there's the millet idea again, that she'll eat millet out of your hand.
Mm-hmm.
She's not been known to perch on a finger.
Uh-huh.
I will say, as part of a, you know, kind of a funny story, that if anybody watched the Boba Fett episode this past release, there was a short segment about the Mandalorian getting a new space plane, as it were, and being told, you've got a starfighter, fly it like a starfighter, not like a ship. And she is like a starfighter. I mean, if you let her out, she is fully flighted. She loves to fly, and she is very adept at flying, even in an unfamiliar space. There is no way, unless you spend hours, that you are going to catch her. So what I tend to do is, until she gets a little bit more confident that I'm not going to kill her, is I look for a space of time where I know nobody's going to be ringing my door, or doors aren't going to be opened unexpectedly, and for sure not opening windows. And I just let her, fly around. I mean, I monitor her because there are other cages with other birds, so that nobody's, getting in each other's face with bad consequences. But otherwise, she can go wherever she wants, and she loves just going here and there and everywhere. And sometimes she'll land on my curtains, at the top of my curtains, and, upside down, and just kind of watch me for a little while, and then fly off to somewhere else.
Little bat bird.
Yeah, so that is her main enjoyment, but I have to watch my schedule when I let her do that, because I know I can't get her back, on a timed basis into whatever cage I want.
The thing that I do about that sometimes is I let my less tame birds out before I feed them. And then dinner can be some of the incentive to go back in.
Yeah. Millet is also very helpful, particularly if it's toward the end of the day, saying, okay, do you want to snack? You want dinner? Go
But
here.
there is still the chance that they'll say, no, thanks. I'd like to fly some more.
Yeah.
So before we move on to meet our next birds, it's going to be a pair of finches. Are there any last things you'd like to tell us about Ruth?
That was the main thing about her flight capabilities, and the fact that she just simply won't be caught unless you want to spend a lot of time trying to do that.
Well, she's very cute. Maybe her new family is watching today. We can hope anyways. Thank you for introducing us to Ruth, Pam. Now we will meet Raclette and Bonnie the Finches. Hi, Sarah.
Hi,
Can you introduce us to these two cuties? It looks like they're snuggled up like almost one bird there.
They are. Look at them being two little peas in a pod. On the right is Raclette, the zebra finch, and on the left is Bonnie, who is kind of a hybrid, little bit part society finch, part zebra finch, I think, looking at her.
As a reminder to our audience, type any questions you have about Raclette and Bonnie in the Q&A or in the video live feed on Facebook. I'm guessing from the name Bonnie that Bonnie's a girl. How about Raclette?
Raclette is also a girl. You can tell she doesn't have the little red cheeks that a zebra finch has if it's a boy. So these are two ladies. Yep.
Do we have any idea how old they are?
We do. Bonnie is 4. We're pretty confident about that because she was surrendered from an owner who had a pretty detailed history on her. And then Raclette, we are guessing, is somewhere around about 3 or 4, probably a similar age. She came in with a group of other finches. There was a flock of, I think it was 16 or 17 finches that we were asked to rescue out of an aviary down in the South Bay. And so she came in with them. She had some health problems, so she ended up having to be treated for quite some time, which is why she's not still with them. That flock, we did manage to keep them all together, but she missed her bus. There was a transport arranged for their adopter, and unfortunately she just she wasn't fully recovered from her health problems at the time, so we went on a quest to find her a new friend. And when Bonnie came in, that was kind of perfect. And after quarantine, we were able to unite these two, and as you can see, they're getting along pretty well.
They sure are. They look like they're really just Like I can hardly see that there's two birds there. Oh.
Yeah. Hopefully at some point one of them will move. Bonnie just tucked her head back like she's taking a nap right now.
She's having a nap.
Sorry about that.
That's okay.
I'm not in the same room as the cage for sound reasons, because I have other foster birds and you wouldn't be able to hear me. Otherwise, I would try and give them a little nudge to show us about their acrobatics. They are, ironically, I'm about to say, they're very active birds.
Well, I can see they have lots of little things to do and different stations in there. Can you just maybe walk us through what's in their cage and how they spend their time when they're not napping?
Yeah, they're usually hopping back and forth from side to side a lot. This cage is 30 inches wide, and that's really the absolute minimum. And ideally, their permanent home would get an even bigger cage. This is the minimum we consider having them in. And from our perspective, they've been on a journey since we took them in to find a friend for them, because they came in as singles, they ended up as singles. And so I'm kind of a way station foster, if you like. I'm not the planned long-term foster. If they don't get adopted soon, we're trying to move them to a foster that could spend more time focused on them. And so they would benefit from a cage that was even wider, because they do fly a lot. So they're usually going straight from one end. That's why there's romaine at both ends of the cage, because they do like to go back and forth and kind of munch on it, and up onto the higher perch, and then onto the swing, and back down to maybe a water dish, and then back up to the top right again. They just hop around a lot of the day. This is, I guess they're having a late siesta. But if we're lucky, they'll start moving before we end our slot here. They really love greens, so that's why I put it in different locations around the cage, so that they've got more points of interest to go and visit as they're hopping around. So they've got some cilantro on that's a shelf perch at the back. So they have a ladder, they have a rope perch, they got the swings, and then they have this shelf perch at the back. Another thing I highlight is, again, because I don't consider this a long-term foster setup for them, natural shaped perches would be best. There's a couple of dowel rods in here, which again is me just grabbing my emergency resources when I'm suddenly asked to take in a finch. So we have, some more natural shaped perches in here. It would be a nice upgrade too. And so, they jump around between each of the dishes. There's 2 food dishes and 3 water dishes, just because finches do like to jump in the shallow dish and take a bath. So the water dish that you can see that's a little bigger on the right is really a bathing dish. And sometimes I'll put like celery leaves or something mixed in the water there, so that they can they can bathe and dine at the same time. And they really like splashing around a lot. So that's their bath. And then they've got 2 water dishes separately. Got it.
And a reminder for all the audience, you can ask questions in the Q&A and in the Facebook live stream. So I think we already really covered how they came to Mickaboo, and it just illustrates the wide variety of different situations that birds come from, one from an owner and one from a large aviary surrender. What do they like to eat besides the leafy greens? It looks like that must be something they're a fan of just by the quantity, but what else? Do they eat seeds or pellets?
Yeah, finches just, it's good to, actually a great point. It's good to call out that they should have seed. I know we often in the Mickaboo bird care class, we talk a lot about how seed should be considered a treat and they should be converted to pellets in most species. But when it comes to finches, they do eat a lot of seeds and grains. And so in their dishes, I think it's probably about 60% Volkmann's seed mix for finches and canaries. And then I also have Lefebur's finch crumbles in there too. So they have a little, I put about a tablespoon in one side of the dish so that they can pick away at that. And by the end of the day, it's all mixed up and they forage around and pick out what they want from it. So hopefully they're eating some of it and not just throwing it all around. So yeah, they shouldn't be meal fed either. I know we advocate for meal feeding for most parrot species too, but finches are so tiny and their metabolism so high that they they should have food available all throughout the day.
Well, and they are not parrots. That's
Yeah, they're not
actually
parrots.
a good reminder for
They're
all of us.
passerines. They're not hookbills. Yeah, absolutely.
We are a companion bird rescue, not just a
Yeah,
parrot
we have
rescue.
quite a few canaries and finches that are looking for homes as well.
We do have an audience question now. Are they okay with children?
If they were willing to be very patient with them, I could see, if you're able to put your hand in the cage with some seed in it and just sit there still, if you can sit still for 5 minutes, they might learn over time to come down and eat out of a hand. Finches can certainly learn to do that. These ones, they were recently put together. I would hope I do a lot of sort of emergency landing spot fostering. So I unfortunately have a little bit too many foster birds to be able to do training with every single one of them. So we're really hoping to move into a foster that will be able to work on socializing them. But it certainly is possible. I would say that it would be a case of setting expectations. They're not going to fly out of the cage and land on your shoulder. And I wouldn't let them out in a space unless you were very confident that you would not need to get them back in the cage in an emergency, because it's not very easy to catch a finch. That's why we
similar to what we just talked about with Ruth the Budgie.
Yeah, indeed. So you really want to have a space where they could be out all day, and they would eventually go back in for food. But you're not going to easily be able to tell them where they need to go and when. So definitely bear that in mind. But it's a nice option if you have kids who are interested in working on getting them hand friendly, so they'll fly down and eat from your hand. You just need to do it consistently every day for a little bit, and the trick is just to be as still as you can. So no excited movements, no constantly fidgeting your hand around. It's got to be really still so that they'll be brave enough to come and try the food out of it.
Yeah, it's a lot for the birds to learn how to be friends with us, just like we're learning.
Yeah, it takes a little while, but once they work it out and they know that your hand means food is coming, they can be quite excited about it.
Yeah, definite possibility there. So we are about ready to move on to meet Emma the cockatoo. But before we do that, are there any last things you'd like to tell us about Bonnie and Raclette?
Just that this is the most I've seen them sit still all day in quite some time. I promise you, they fly around so much. They have been laying eggs recently, and I think that's just because having been paired up, they're so happy. So we're not as worried about that with finches compared to parrots, because they would lay more regularly or frequently in the wild anyway. So it's not so much of a problem, but we will be watching just to make sure. And as long as they're getting food that's well balanced and has the right nutrition, we're not overly concerned about it. But there has been a little, I think it's Raclette. I don't know exactly which one it is. I don't think they're both doing it, given how I'm seeing them. They usually come a couple at a time, then there'll be a break and then another couple. I think it's Raclette.
Stealth eggs.
Yeah.
One last question from Facebook. How do they take their baths?
They jump in that little shallow dish down there. So that little white porcelain dish, the slightly whiter one that you can see on the right hand side. They will jump in the other water dishes too, but that one's a little whiter, so they can really splash around and put their wings out.
Got it.
I asked my husband to go down and just kind of make some gestures and see if you could get them moving, and they're still resolutely
not impressed.
They are camped out. They are.
We will leave them in peace and go and meet Emma now. Thank you, Sarah.
I'm sorry they're on strike today. Thanks, Katie.
Hi, Cindy.
Hi.
Oh, hi, Emma. Can you tell us a little bit about Emma?
Sure. Emma is about 40 years old, and she came to us due to her lifelong owners having health issues. So let's see. Emma was kind of on a pretty unhealthy diet when we first picked her up. She's now converted to natural Zucchini pellets, and we'll move vegetables aside to get to the pellets. Don't really eat them yet. So it's nice because it's easy foraging activity. I just dump vegetables on top of the pellets and off we go.
That's a win-win if she eats them.
She at least has to touch them. Oh,
I do not know. I do not know my cockatoos well. What kind of cockatoo is she?
oh, good
Besides
question.
utterly
Goffins
adorable.
cockatoo?
Goffins. Okay. So they're one of the smaller size.
Yeah, she's pretty small. I don't actually know. She's like between the size of a cockatiel and like one of the big cockatoos.
Mhm.
Kind of joke that I don't really see the similarity between cockatiels and the big cockatoos, but you could see both in her. It's kind of, I joke that she's like the missing link.
I love how she's bobbing her head and putting her crest up and down.
Yeah,
Is she
does
kind
that.
of excited about having the camera on her?
Probably,
or-
yes. We don't really usually have close-ups like this. She's like,
Uh-huh.
who's talking to me?
There's a whole lot of people talking to you, Emma. And in fact, reminder to our audience, any questions about Emma, please do type them in the Q&A or in the Facebook live stream. So she's about 40, and she had one home that we know of before this. Is she tame? She looks like she must be somewhat tame. Just
She likes to have her head scratched, but the problem is that you can see she's very hormonal. So, we only ever want to pet birds on the very top of their heads anyway, because the whole other area is like an erogenous zone. But even the top of the head is too much. So what we've been doing instead is encouraging her to play with her toys, and we've been doing some training with her to and also spray bottle baths often spritzes help curb that hormonal behavior. But it's really best not to really handle her much at all unless you really have to.
got it. So yeah, so is that what can you do to cool those hormones? Does she get a Lupron shot or a hormone implant or anything, or are you really just working on behavior right now?
Just behavior. I don't think she needs a shot. We're able to kind of redirect it, and as long as you don't pet her, it doesn't get to be too much. We just started clipping her wings to see if that would help a little bit too. She's very, very good flyer, and it's not exactly the safest situation because we have a very small house. So we decided to clip her wings, and she's adjusted immediately. She was like, "Oh, I can't do that anymore." So that's been helpful. She loves her toys, so she goes through toys quite quickly. And then we just started working on target training too. Oh, she's gonna poop for you. There you go.
Part of bird life.
Touch. Not for the TV. Not right now.
Maybe later. We have an audience question. What is the typical lifespan of a Goffins cockatoo?
I don't actually know because I tried to Google it and it says like 10 to 20 years, but she's 40, so I feel like that's not accurate.
Yeah, I feel like one of the things that makes that really hard to tell is so many birds in captivity don't have a good diet or, get unlucky with another pet in the house. And so the lifespans can seem artificially short compared to what we could provide.
Right.
It may be that some of our tech team in the background can give us a number as we go.
That's great, yeah.
But we do have another audience question. Is Emma more interested in male or female human companions? Like Pepper, the Amazon we met at the beginning, had a really strong preference for women.
Right. So she was initially more bonded to me because I work from home, and then she kind of bonded more to my husband, but now she's kind of in either case, either of us could care for her. You could just tell that she liked one of us better. Now Now it's about equal. So she'll step up for both of us. So she sleeps in a separate, we have a second bedroom, and she has a little cage in there that we bring her to sleep at night because she goes to bed pretty early, like 6:30. She gets her 12 hours of sleep a night uninterrupted in the dark, and she's covered in there. And then in the morning, she gets out of the cage and climbs on top of it, and she'll step up for me to carry her out here to her big cage. And also, if she gets down on the floor and is kind of in a precarious situation, she'll step up for me to kind of rescue her.
Ah, yes.
So we're getting there. Yeah, she won't do it on command, but if it's like beneficial to her, she will for sure.
Well, yeah, you can keep doing that and things like the target training that you were showing us that she's a little like not confident enough to do on screen, but all these things build great habits. So yeah.
I promise earlier today she climbed all the way to the top of the ladder and targeted for me.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah,
How long
so
have you been working on the target training?
We started pretty much right when we first got her in November, and but we weren't consistent. So now we're trying to make sure we do it for a few minutes every day.
That's nice. It's something she can count on.
5 days. What's that?
It's something she can count on. Like, oh, this is a thing we do.
Yeah, exactly. The predictability.
We have another audience question. Would Emma do okay with another cockatoo companion?
That is a good question. So we have 2 chickens in the backyard and 2 cats that live outside. But that's the only experience that she's had with pets in our house. Oh, we also had a friend visit with a dog, and that was fine. Let me see, a big dog too, like a bulldog kind of mix. They both ignored each other. And I don't think her former house had birds, but they also had, I think they had a cat and a dog. They also had a son who was about 10. So that all was going fine.
Okay.
Sorry.
Yeah. So yeah. So I guess the answer is we don't really know how she would do with another cockatoo, but we know that with good supervision and keeping the species apart, that she's comfortable with other animals in the household, just like with multiple different people. So that sounds good. Do we have any idea how she does with children?
So let's see. Did we have a kid? We haven't had a kid over here in a while, but the surrender had I would say the little boy was maybe 8 to 10 years old. And I think it was fine. And then they also had a teenage daughter.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it sounds like Emma can coexist with a wide range of people and animals. So that's great to hear.
For sure. Yeah. She's pretty adaptable. It was amazing. I mean, you live somewhere for 40 years, right? And then you just whisked away to this strange house, and it's like it's like she has no recollection the next day. I don't mean it like that, but yeah.
It's pretty remarkable. I mean, she looks so engaged with us right here, and she's in beautiful feather. So she's, probably somewhere in her middle age years. She's got some hormones that you need to manage. She's still learning about vegetables as food. But does she need any particular like special care, or just all those kind of health maintenance things?
Yeah, no special care, just watching the hormonal behavior. She does contact calls, so she doesn't just like scream incessantly all day, but she can scream quite loud as a contact call. And what we do is if we're in another room, we'll just answer her back, and then she stops. She just wants to make sure we're there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
My human child does that.
What's that?
My human child does that. Mama,
Right.
are you there? And then she goes back to whatever she's doing. So we're about out of time, but before we wrap up, are there any last things you'd like to tell us about Emma?
Can't really think of anything right now.
She's just really, really adorable. And I love how Her crest looks so stubby to me because I'm used to looking at cockatiels that have like just those few really like relatively long for the size of their head feathers. So she's so cute.
She is.
I really like her.
Uh-oh. And she
On,
heard that
on
she
the
was
move. Is she going back toward her cage now?
Can you see? There we go. She
There
climbed
she
down
is.
into the door of the cage for a second.
Got it.
There she
Does
is.
she like to go back into her cage? Does she like do that on her own?
She doesn't really on her own except to get a drink of water, but she's really easily lifted up. She will try to kind of she'll try to maybe bite you if you try to pick her up, but she stops pretty quickly. Can we come? Not right now. She kind of grips on pretty tightly, so we just got to be
Got it.
gentle. And we're able to move her when we need to, but hopefully the target training will pick up and we won't have to do that so much.
That's great. Okay, well, we do have one audience question, but I think we already covered it, asking, is Emma okay with other birds? And the answer there is we don't know.
Chickens.
But oh, chickens. Yes, she's good with the chickens through the window. Well, thank you so much for introducing us to Emma, Cindy. It's
Thank
great to
you.
meet her. The terrific last act. So that's all the birds we have time to meet today. We do have time for a few more questions. So if we have some audience questions, do please keep them coming. We did have one just a couple minutes ago. This is a definition question. Are budgies and parakeets the same? And the answer is sort of. We often use those terms interchangeably in the US in the pet trade. But parakeet actually means a parrot with a long tail. So while we tend to say it meaning budgerigar, there are many kinds of parrot that could be classified as parakeets. But today, when we were talking about parakeets, we meant budgies. So if there's any more questions, do please keep those coming. If you fell in love with any of the birds today, please do contact us. If you haven't started the adoption process, the first thing you do is take our basic bird care class. The next one is next weekend. I believe it's being posted on our website later today or perhaps tomorrow. So you can go to mickaboo.org, go to the classes tab, and you'll find information about the basic bird care class. If none of the birds that were here today seem like the right bird, do also just look at all the birds on our website. We have about 300, so the right bird for you may be there. Just a couple more things before we go. First of all, thank you for joining us today. It's great to have people getting to know our birds, getting to know our process, and we hope that you will join us more deeply. If you'd like to see more birds, our next adoption fair will be on February 26th at 1 p.m., so just about 4 weeks from now. Please do remember, we are donation funded. If you want to support this work of parrot rescue, including the care for all the birds you met today, you can donate at mickaboo.org/donate. We would be grateful for your support. And if I move my head over a little bit, you can actually see our URL there. The third point, if you have ideas or comments on how we can improve for next time, do please mention them in the Q&A tab. I think that our adoption fair team just gave you guys a reminder about that. Last but not least, I'd like to extend a thank you to all of the foster parents, the birds, and our support technical crew who kept this event running smoothly. Please stick with us through the credits, and you'll find out who they all are. We're going to go ahead and keep monitoring the Q&A for just a bit longer in case you have any more questions. But until next time, thank you and goodbye. And now, roll credits.